This program is sponsored in part by the National Catholic Society of Foresters. Hello again, and welcome to Looking at Social Justice. I'm Jim Grant, and it's my privilege again to be sharing with you something you probably don't know much about. Now, I say that very honestly because Catholic Charities of California is, as I've heard today, the best kept secret of what's going on in our state. Many things are happening in dioceses and in the whole conference of the Catholic Bishops of California that not everyone is aware of. So today, we're beginning a two-part series with guests coming all the way from Sacramento. That's Northern California, in case you're not sure. And they're here to tell us what they do all year long and to invite us to become partners in it. Our first guest is Shannon Lahey, who is the Executive Director of Catholic Charities California. And with her is someone who is Claire Perez, who is in charge of a program called Pilgrimages that we'll talk about in a second program next week. Shannon, could you begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself, about why you're at Catholic Charities, and what has been the growth of that wonderful ministry in the 12 years that you've been the executive director?
Well, first, thank you for inviting us to be here today. We really appreciate it. It's a beautiful day in Fresno, and we're so happy to be here. As you said, I'm the executive director of Catholic Charities of California, and we represent the 12 local Catholic charity agencies in the state. Every diocese has a Catholic Charities, and they're all part of Catholic Charities of California. So the organization has been in existence since 1986, although Catholic Charities has been operating in the state for over 100 years.
So what's the difference between from 1986 and the 100 years?
Well, those are the local Catholic Charities, have been operating for over 100 years. Actually, we started operating during the gold rush, but it wasn't until the early 1900s that it became incorporated as a separate entity called Catholic Charities. And
what would you say that would be, in a broad brush stroke, the main work that Catholic Charities of California would be committed to?
Well, the local Catholic charity agencies, which provide the direct services in local communities throughout the state, they do the real important work, to be honest. I mean, what we do is try to find resources to help get them more resources so they can help more people. And so that's what we do on a statewide level. And we also provide opportunities for networking, for model developing best practices, and we represent the network at the state capitol with legislators. We advocate. We have a separate 501c4 that advocates on behalf of local Catholic charities and their clients.
Now, the probably most interesting thing I learned from you this morning is when you arrived 12 years ago, it was only you.
Yeah.
You have a staff now of about a dozen or so. How is it that the Catholic Charities California has been able, in a dozen years, to grow so much?
Well, we have about 16, 17 full-time staff people now. I think it's been an answer to our prayers, and the economy in California has been doing well, so there's been more resources at the state level of government. During the Great Recession, there were no resources to do anything. So we've been lucky, and we've taken advantage of the opportunities, and we've, I think, been more prominent at the state capitol so that legislators and administration officials are more aware of what we bring to the table. We're the largest social service provider network in the state, and we do great work. So Once we got our first contract to provide services, then it just was opened the door, and we just started doing more and more and more. So along with our advocacy efforts and the great work done by the local Catholic Charities, we've been able to grow.
Speaking of growing, so you joined, I guess, in 2017. So Claire, how is it that, what drew you to Catholic Charities, and what is it that keeps you still very, very committed to what they're doing?
Well, I, was born and raised in Sacramento in, a very Catholic community. And so I think being able to grow a professional career within the Catholic community always sounded very appealing to me. Working within, a Catholic organization that gives back was something that I'd never really experienced before. But when I started as an intern, I learned about all the great work that they were doing, and it just really encourages you to keep going and keep growing and keep doing more and more work. I mean, so it's just been something that I've continued to do.
Well, we're really glad that you're here, because in the second program, you're going to be able to tell us a lot more about the particular program of taking people on pilgrimages, which helps fund the great project that you and Shannon work on when you're not on a trip.
Yeah.
So about the network, I found out something very interesting. Social justice directors like I am, we have affiliations with the conference, the California Catholic Conference of Bishops, and we represent dioceses. And the same thing is understood by Catholic Charities, that you are guiding or, in a sense, leading what is local diocesan efforts of doing Catholic Charities.
Yes.
But let's see some of them and mention, and it might be an idea for us to get an idea of the magnitude of what is Catholic Charities California, because of all the places where you are doing advocacy to support those local efforts. So we begin up north in Sacramento, where you are.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the magnitude of the project up in Sacramento.
Well, Sacramento has over 20 counties in the diocese. So it goes from Solano all the way up to the Oregon border. So it's a vast geographical area. I think it's the largest in California. So within that vast geographical area, they actually have 3 different local Catholic charity organizations operating to provide services.
And I know one of the fellas who is diocesan director of Catholic Charities, but also is representing the diocese when we meet as social justice directors. That's John Watkins.
Yes.
And it's nice to know that he's able to share with us what it is that Catholic Charities is doing right through his own hands, but also with all the people that he's working with in that gigantic diocese.
Right.
Great guy.
Yes, wonderful.
Now, Santa Rosa, where Peggy and I really enjoyed 5 years of living in Eureka and working with the diocese. You've been doing a lot of work there because of what's gone on in Santa Rosa Diocese with the fires. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. The state just started a program that's funded by FEMA, and it's called Disaster Case Management. And the state called us up and said, look, we would like Catholic Charities to be the contractor to provide these disaster case management services. And we said, absolutely. So the first 2 federal disasters were in those areas, and some of it in Northern Valley. And the Camp Fire, of course, was predominantly in Northern Valley. So we have right now 3 contracts to provide disaster case management services. And it's a fabulous program, because what happens when all the first responders leave, we get the cases where people have not been able to rebuild their lives for whatever reason that is. And we're able to get professional case managers there to help them do what it takes to get them back to where they were before the disaster occurred, to that status, or if not better. So it's been a real blessing to be able to work with the clients in those areas that are their lives have just been so devastated. So it's really important work. And we also just recently got another contract with the state. It's a state program to provide disaster preparedness, education and outreach to vulnerable populations so that they're better equipped to respond to a disaster if it ever happens. And hopefully it won't, but they need to have a better ability to respond.
How is it that people would be knowing about these projects that you're doing? Because for me, I wouldn't have necessarily known, because when I'm listening to NPR or KPFA, I'm not necessarily learning that Catholic Charities is involved. We're learning about the disaster and about the need for us to be aware of it and participating. So some of the stuff you do, I imagine, is under the radar. How is it that we could become more aware of what it is you're doing?
Like you said, we're the best kept secret. I think that the reason why that happens is we're less interested in promoting ourselves and more interested in helping people that need help. So, but please go to our website. Sign up for our email newsletters. Claire, do you have any other suggestions? Claire's always on top of all these things.
I think, just getting involved, we're really trying to boost our newsletter and include real stories of people that have been helped, real stories of the work that we're doing. And everyone, you can all find that information on our website, which is CatholicCharities CA.org. And you can subscribe to our newsletter. It goes out monthly. And we also have a Facebook page in which we, post a lot about our programs, which is Catholic Charities CA. So we're really trying to get the word out there a little, just about what we're doing and, the work that we do across the state.
Would you, if they called, would they be speaking with, whom would they be speaking to at 916-706-1539?
So when you call our office, it has, it lists all of basically our program managers and the programs that we have. So it really, you can talk to really anyone who you'd like to talk to. So, whatever.
Claire's extension is 108.
So that would be the best one to call, especially about those pilgrimages that we're going to talk about next show.
So yes, 108 is
So
mine.
we have a lot of members of this network. I'll just read a few, and then maybe you'll highlight any that you think we want to return to. The Archdiocese of San Francisco.
Huge. They do great work. Fabulous. They have several programs. I can't even begin to go over them. Fabulous work.
It's amazing that the Catholic presence in California does go back so far and so deeply, but it's important to know that Catholic Charities is at the heart of so much that goes on without our knowing it's Catholic Charities.
Yes.
East Bay, a lot of great things go on in the East Bay, a lot of them Catholic Charities.
Yes.
Stockton, just a little north of us, Santa Clara County evidently has, you were saying, so many resources.
Yeah.
They are a flagship.
Yes.
Anything you want to say about the great work that they're able to do because of the great resources?
Yeah, and I think also Santa Clara County's been a good partner. So it's fabulous work being done by Catholic Charities of Santa Clara, and I'm very proud that they're part of our network.
Monterey, Fresno, of course.
Yes.
And what would you say about our beautiful Diocese of Fresno.
I love coming here, and I love always spending time with Catholic Charities of Fresno. They do one of the statewide programs that we have that they excel in is the nutrition programs, nutrition education and outreach and education and helping people sign up for. They just changed the name again. SNAP program. Excuse me. Sorry. So they do great work.
L.A. the archdiocesan. Well, I was going to say monstrosity. That sounds negative. The magnitude of what goes on at the Archdiocese of L.A. Any highlights there?
Well, they just celebrated their centennial a couple months ago. And they not only operate in LA County, but they also operate in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties. So, big chunk of Southern California.
Orange and San Bernardino also have a very strong presence of Catholic Charities.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they both do. Wonderful rural programs in San Bernardino and Riverside. Amazing stuff being done at the Salton Sea, and it's very proud to represent them.
And the border Diocese of San Diego, rounding out your network.
Yes. We have over 30, actually we have offices in over 30 counties in the state.
Now, what we learned this morning before our program is the connection of Catholic Charities California is distinct from the day-by-day operations of the local offices.
Yes.
So can you clarify that a little more over the type of work that you would be doing with your staff at the Capitol compared to the benefits that you help bring in to our local efforts here in those 12 partners?
Right. So what my office does is look at statewide or regional opportunities. So funding sources that would not necessarily be available to a local Catholic charity agency on its own. And so what we bring to the state is we have this huge network with over 30 offices, operating in over 30 counties in the state of California. I don't think anybody else has that. And so we're able to secure resources. In the last 10 years, we've been able to pass down over $64 million to the local Catholic charity agencies to help more people. So it's always about helping more people. I think what's heartbreaking to all of us who work for Catholic Charities is that we never seem to have enough resources to help those that come to us for help. And we can see problems like the growing number of homeless. It's heartbreaking. We want to help those people, and it's just finding the resources to be able to make that happen. So that's what we do. We do that at a statewide level, and we also do that through the legislature and the governor.
That brings up exactly where we wanted to go, is that since you're located at the Capitol, where we would be going as social justice directors, at least in the past, we've gone up yearly for our lobby day or our advocacy day. But for you, it's a daily advocacy day because you are there to be in line and be at the table. Because as they say, if you're not at the table, you're not on the menu. So what will happen is you will not get that support you need.
Yes.
How has it been in your 12 years, Shannon, with the different administrations, the different governors, the different legislatures that we've had? How has it been for you, for Catholic Charities California, over this last dozen years?
Right. I think for us, it's more money driven. When California was in a deep recession, there was literally no money available for any general fund activity at the state level. So the budgets have to be balanced. So there was no wiggle room at all. It was all just mandatory spending in terms of the state. So we couldn't go to the state and say, look, give us more, even though there was vast need, huge need. It was just such a heartbreaking time. So now that the economy is more robust and there is discretionary funds available, we've been able to work with the governor's office, mainly Jerry Brown and now the current governor, and they've had great leadership on the issues that we support, like helping immigrants, helping disaster victims. And so I think it's more, it's been more money driven than anything else, budget driven.
There are certain programs that we know would be needing to be maybe unpacked just a little. So one that we decided would be worth opening up a little is commitments towards nutrition. What would you want to say about how Catholic Charities California is making available across the state resources for nutritional programs?
Right, we have two programs. We have the CalFresh Outreach and Enrollment Program, where we actually go in and help people that are eligible for what used to be called food stamps. And so that provides a lot more food security for those individuals. And we also do education. So, and that's a lot of our Catholic charities have food distribution centers. Fresno does. Fresno has a really beautiful food distribution center, probably more than one, but the one at their headquarters. And then, so usually what happens is someone comes in and says, like, I need some food. Okay, well, let's talk about what your issues are, so that maybe they won't in the future have to come back to us for food or anybody else, that they can become more self-sufficient. So we do a case management work. And the other program that we work on with nutrition specifically is, so they get the food, we see if they're eligible to get something like SNAP, the food benefit, and then we provide nutrition education classes. So what's the best way to spend these limited resources that you have for food? What's teaching people on the best way to spend those funds.
I'm wondering if we should one more time let people know how to be in touch with things that they want to learn about Catholic Charities California. Could we post the website, Facebook, and any other information? So, Claire, can you walk us through what might be, what they'll find if they went to the website? If they went to Facebook, what would they be finding there for them? And what would they find also on that newsletter? What might they be educated in? How often does the newsletter, when is it published? So what can you tell us about these resources?
So we're actually currently redesigning our website. So that's going to be launching the second week of January. But really our website is first and foremost to inform. So we talk about our network. We talk about how, we represent the 12 local agencies throughout the state. And we also talk about our statewide programs. So, I know we're kind of briefly discussing them, but there's a lot that we do. There's many programs that are, within one kind of realm. So we talk about all of those programs. And then our newsletter, you can find our newsletter on our website, and you can also subscribe to our newsletter. But what our newsletter does is, because we represent 12 agencies, it's published once a month, and each month it focuses on a different agency. Oh. And they can contribute to the newsletter a success story, what they've been doing that month, maybe an effort that they've been, really working towards. And that is what we highlight in our newsletter. And then we also do a success story from our office, maybe something that, we had been working on. But it really changes month to month. So it's a great, we have a lot of people that get our newsletter, and It's wonderful to give more of a voice to our local agencies at the state level.
Shannon, is there anything that you know is on the website that people are going to be wanting to know about? Information about the situation that we are facing in the state and how your agency is addressing it?
Well, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but we provide about 1.5 million services to Californians every year. And I think that that's more or less what our website is trying to show, is that we have offices in 30 counties in the state. We provide, 14 or 15% of those who live in poverty in California are served by Catholic Charities. It is the best kept secret of the church, I think.
Wow.
And what we're trying to do with our website is trying to be better about sharing that message. We don't have a lot of resources to do that, but we're hoping that your viewers will take the time to go to our website and sign up for our newsletter and get the word out.
There's something on this sheet that I'm going to be making available to people to remind us of statistics. California has 40 million people. We're trying to get them all counted in the census, so that's something that we're working on very much. But 5.2 million of these live in poverty, and 15% of them are being helped, Shannon just reminded us, by Catholic Charities. And to honestly admit, there is no other agency in the state that addresses itself to serve the needs of the 15% most in need in our state. It happens that there will be food assistance, basic needs, health care, homelessness being addressed, refugee and immigrant services, family strengthening services, quality of life services, disaster recovery services, and 53,000 other services. All of these made possible because of the advocacy that is being championed by people like Shannon and Claire and their team up in Sacramento. In 10 seconds, would either of you want to say one final thing so that we can know you had your last word?
Yes, I think that, thank you for complimenting us, but it's really the local Catholic charity agencies that do the hard, direct services and in their communities responding to local need. And we're so proud to represent them, and the work that they do is amazing. So I also encourage people to go to their websites, go to your local Catholic charity website and support them by volunteering, donating, do whatever you can. It's an amazing network, and we appreciate everyone's support.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Claire. We will be back next week with another program with them about a particular ministry in their program. Thank you, and God bless.